the special plenary session with Securities and Exchange Board of India (SEBI) on regulatory landscape, what is needed for Viksit Bharat. Ladies and gentlemen, as India strides towards becoming a developed nation by 2047, a fortified and robust regulatory landscape will play a pivotal role in fructifying this goal. This session will take stock of the current regulatory architecture along with deliberating on the supportive regulatory frameworks further required towards bolstering the financial sector. With those words, I request Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General, CII, for the welcome address of this session and also to moderate the session thereafter. Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and a great privilege and honor to welcome very specially and warmly the Chairperson of SEBI, Mrs. Madhabi Puri Buch. Chairpersons, welcome back to a forum with the industry once again, and we really value your time, leadership to spend time with this very, very strong and a very high quality audience where we are talking about the role of the financial sector and Viksit Bharat as we look at it. We have the chairs of the summit, so to say, the financial summit chair, the chief economic advisor, Dr. V. Ananthanageshwaran, sitting here, and of course Sanjeev Bajaj, who have been chairing this summit and preparing for it for the last many years. And Madam Chairperson, the subject that we have kept for your session is the regulatory landscape and what is needed for Viksit Bharat. Chairperson, I just wanted to mention that a few things that we have been able to do since we have met in another public gathering with our institution and yourself, both in Delhi as well as here, has been some of the things that we have seen which has moved so very effectively. Just wanted to recap them, and it's been you who have actually made things to work in a very different manner. I think one of the highlights was, of course, the Industry Standards Forum, which you constituted, and that's worked so very well, and that collaboration has been of great value. The second, I just wanted to also talk amongst ourselves and really laud in terms of the landmark achievement of SEBI in the recent past. It has to catalyze the transition from T+2 to T+1 settlement cycle and making the stock market the fastest growing in the world, as we have seen. And further, the T+0 settlement cycle has also been rolled out. I mean, briefly capturing this just for a recall. The third, of course, which has been again where we have seen the expert committee for facilitating ease of doing business. And that's been, again, something which we strongly appreciate from our institution, the determination to streamline the corporate regulatory framework. And that's been of great value. And the expert committee, which came out with those recommendations for facilitating ease of doing business and also harmonization of the provisions of the ICDR and LODR regulations. So that's again, Madam, was of very, very important and great value. The next, of course, was the formation of 16 working groups to simplify the SEBI regulations. And again, saw a phenomenal collaborative work. It's been seen and very encouraging to learn that SEBI has accepted. We have seen 70% odd of the proposals of these working groups being accepted by SEBI. Another one, again, which we have been really talking about within the industry has been about the BRSR, and wanted to really congratulate and thank the SEBI for developing the BRSR and the BRSR core initiatives. And they really go a long way in ensuring that we are in line with the global standards. And we look forward. This is something which is going to really help our companies, our members. So great to have some of these achievements in a very short period of time, if I may. And today we really look once again turn to the SEBI chairperson for her thoughts on how the regulatory environment can foster market growth and stability, and to prepare for the financing of this growth in a rapid way towards the Viksit Bharat. I just wanted to recap just to say that we have done a lot and we still wish to do a lot in this partnership approach, Madam Chairperson, and welcome you once again, and thank you very much for being here with us for this summit. Thank you. Sanjeev, before we request the Chairperson, a few remarks from the summit chair.
Good afternoon, friends, and it's a pleasure to have with us Chairperson SEBI to deliberate upon what should be the evolving regulatory framework as we lay the foundations for a Viksit Bharat by 2047. Now, we know that a robust regulatory environment of our capital markets is required not only for investor protection, but it is also required to pursue innovation, to ensure greater market efficiency, and to ensure greater inclusion. As India moves forward and is poised to become the third largest economy globally, we know that the scale of financing in the country has to improve dramatically. And to do this, we have to first ensure that we are building greater resilience, because scale without resilience can lead to disaster. One of the ways to do this is to encourage the shift of our savings from traditional assets, whether it's cash, whether it's gold, whether it's real estate, towards financial assets, which are more productive. And money, as they say, has value only when it changes hands. If it's sitting at one place, it has very little value. Further, whether it is simplifying the investment process, sachetization of products and services, reducing transaction costs, each of this will further enable a larger set of people to invest in financial products. We also know, and for those of you who were here in the first section, we discussed the fact that while we have a very large and strong equity market, we need to build the bond market, and perhaps we will hear a little bit about that. Currently, whether it's REITs or InvITs, these are classified as hybrid securities, and we believe that there is some ambiguity amongst investors about their asset class. We believe that these should be allowed as asset classes, whether for ETFs or index funds, of creating a framework for mutual funds to also launch REIT or InvIT specific schemes would further bring in liquidity into these asset classes. CB just talked about the BRSR report. We know that the world is increasingly moving towards adapting ESG principles. I was recently, a few weeks ago, at a meeting of the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, and the top financial companies were together discussing how the roadmap is evolving towards the transition towards a greener planet and the obligations on green financing. And this is where India both can play a very significant role, because we are part of that transformation journey, and unlike many other countries, we have proactively said that we will move towards the developed nation, but we will also do it with our responsibility towards the climate. But here, one of the things that is required is a harmonization of regulations, not only between international, which is mostly European regulations, and Indian regulations, but also that harmonization doesn't mean that we have to just follow their regulations. The regulations have to be suitable even for countries like ourselves. And I hope that we will see some of that happening. Another requirement to ease compliance for listed equities that are there across multiple exchanges is if we can create a common disclosure platform that could be established where a single submission meets the reporting requirements of all exchanges. An important area as we move over the next 2 decades is retirement planning. Now, if you look at our current pension fund of India, it's only 2% of GDP, far lower than what we have seen in the West and what we've seen as required as our elderly population grows in size. In addition, when you look at the penetration of pension products in India, amongst the elderly, it is less than 25% versus 70 to 80% in, again, the developed markets of the world. And this is where driving awareness, fostering innovation, reducing transaction costs, improving distribution will go a long way to ensure that in our sunset years, we have adequate protection. As India navigates the path towards becoming a developed nation, hopefully even before 2047, a forward-looking and resilient regulatory landscape will be instrumental in ensuring that our financial services sector establishes 3.0, 4.0, and thereon. As CII, we are very much committed, as we've always been, to work with SEBI in helping simplify regulations and thereby unlocking the true potential of India and Indian industry towards a Viksit Bharat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sanjeev. And ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure and honor to request and invite the Chairperson SEBI, Mrs. Madhabi Puri Buch, to give her keynote address.
A very good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I must say that as we think about Viksit Bharat, there has been one photograph that I've been using as my understanding, not my understanding, but my hope and my aspiration of what Viksit Bharat will actually look like. So I'm going to use that again. This is my hope and aspiration for a Viksit Bharat, where in every part of our country, including in rural India, the girl child is educated, she is healthy, she is tech-enabled, and she is smiling. That would be the Viksit Bharat that I would hope for. How will this Viksit Bharat come about? To me, there are some building blocks towards this aspiration. So, the first thing is that for Viksit Bharat, there has to be economic prosperity. That's a no-brainer. In order to facilitate that economic prosperity, there has to be growth. And for that growth, national resources have to be there. When I say national resources, I mean not just the capital that is there in the country and which comes from outside the country, but also to facilitate the generation of profits, reserves, taxes, and all of the resources that India has, both monetarily and in terms of the huge capability that we have as a nation in terms of people, our capability, our technology. So all of that national resource will really drive the growth and the economic prosperity. At the same time, national resources also need to be utilized for building social infrastructure and sustainability, because that is what will also drive inclusion and participation. Because just economic prosperity without inclusion and participation, active participation of every citizen of the country, without that side of it, we cannot expect that we will achieve a Viksit Bharat. Now, on this path and on this wonderful virtuous circle that we can see before us, the good news is that we are no longer just talking about we can get there or that we have the potential to get there. I think the beauty is we are already on this path. For the last many years now, this bringing together of national resources, both monetary and capability and technology, has already started driving the growth and economic prosperity. It has already started driving social infrastructure and inclusion. So even today, when you open the newspaper and you see GST collections are 10% up. when a lot of foreign investors come to see me and they ask me my views on the economy, and I say to them, look, I'm not an economist, so please take what I say with a pinch of salt, but I'm a markets person. I find it hard to think in terms of models. I like to look at simple data. And to me, there are two important sets of data that I look at when I need to figure out on what kind of trajectory India is from an economic perspective. The first set of metrics I like to look at is taxes. Because taxes are a reality. There is no assumption, there is no model, and nobody pays taxes unless they have to. So, with the growth in taxes, whether it is the GST collections, month on month on month, the way the chart looks, quarter on quarter, if you look at the advance tax, and many of our investors from overseas are not very familiar with the fact that we have a concept of advance tax. So when I share with them that really what is happening every time an advance tax date comes is that the entire corporate sector and every individual is making a projection for the entire year, and this is the forward-looking statement that they are making through their payment of taxes. So when the tax collections are so robust, it is a conclusion for me without needing any other models that our economy is already on that trajectory. We are not just waiting anymore, it's already happening. The second set of metrics that I like to look at is energy consumption, power consumption, because that is to me a reflection of the real economy. Because while profits and taxes sometimes, particularly with the domination of the financial sector, can look somewhat different from what is happening at the ground level. But energy consumption, power consumption, when you look at that and you see that month on month on month, of course, adjusted for the cyclicality, we all know that in our country we have a cyclicality of power consumption, the trend line is again hugely positive. So to me, we are already well on our path towards this Viksit Bharat. And that, in fact, puts even more responsibility on each one of us who are part of the financial sector, particularly the sector where capital formation has to take place. From our side in SEBI, we think of capital formation as having two sides of the coin. One is creating the capital for industry to fuel growth. The second is wealth creation in the hands of the citizens of the country. So it's very important to us from an inclusion point of view that this growth which is happening in the country, the next decade which is going to be so wonderful for us, and the wealth that is going to get created, it also needs to go into the hands of the common person in the country, every citizen of the country. So the inclusion agenda is very, very important to us. And therefore, when there are large parts of the industry in our ecosystem, for instance, the mutual funds. Just the other day, I think the Birla Mutual Fund launched the 250 rupee SIP. Now, we've been working very closely with industry to make sure that that is something which is viable for them. It can be offered, but if it isn't viable, it will not get the traction. So I think the industry, AMFI, has really come forward. The leaders in the industry have come forward. And we are well on our way to making a 250 rupee SIP a reality in our country so that every person, no matter where and in which village, the cost of onboarding is low, the cost of servicing is low, technology is leveraged, and so that with that small amount of money, and people are really shocked globally when I say, roughly about $3 a month. And they're like, you can't even buy a Starbucks coffee with that. And I say, yes. So imagine with less than $3 a month, people will be able to participate in the wealth creation of our nation. And that is something we really look forward to on our path towards a Viksit Bharat. So if we were to look forward and say, what will the market ecosystem look like going forward? And therefore, what is it that the regulation must look like going forward? And what should be the process by which the regulator operates going forward? So the first and most important piece is tomorrow is going to be about a larger and larger scale. Because that's the strength of our country, and that is what we want to leverage, that's what we want to drive, and that's what's going to become a reality. So in response to, and not just in response, in order to fuel this scale as well, the response and the expectation that the regulator will have, both from itself and from industry, is the deployment of technology. It has already started happening. Very, very large parts of our market ecosystem are now absolutely pioneering and leading edge in terms of technology globally. There is no other place on this globe where a lot of the technology that we have today in our country is actually present anywhere else. So whether it is the market ecosystem or whether it is SEBI itself, the adoption of technology in order to be able to manage effectively the scale that we are going to reach is a no-brainer. The second aspect or second dimension that is going to drive the market ecosystem is complexity. Already we are seeing the variety of asset classes, the variety of products, the variety of participants. You know, I often laugh that the number of different and distinct stakeholders that SEBI deals with is just growing and growing and growing. So as was referred that, we constituted this ease of doing business working groups, and we found that to actually address our stakeholders, we needed 16 of them. I'm sure by next year we'll need some 20 of them. So the complexity of what is happening in the market ecosystem is being driven by one important factor which we strongly endorse, which is the right product for the right person. So gone are the days where we say, boss, we have only these 2 or 3 asset classes, now you pick what you like. No, when we have the needs of such a vast variety and varied set of stakeholders, at that time it is incumbent upon us as a regulator to facilitate completely new products and new asset classes all the time to serve those needs, not in a simplistic one-size-fits-all manner, but because we have technology on our side, to be able to create a very large number of products and services which suit the needs of each segment in its own suitable way. So complexity is going to happen. Now the question is, how do we as a regulator expect to deal with it? And we expect to deal with it with co-creation with industry. Because we are very clear that with this increasing complexity, there is no way that the regulator sitting in its own little ivory tower can ever imagine, forget about, appreciate, and respond to all the complexity in the market. So there is no other way of doing the regulatory business other than to co-create. So this is not out of any magnanimity of the regulator. This is out of sheer necessity, because there is no way that without adequate consultation and co-creation, the regulator can come up with sensible rules, regulations, products, and services which will actually serve the market. So this concept of co-creation will only go further. As has been discussed, apart from our advisory committees, the Industry Standards Forum has been a very important initiative, which we are now in the process of formalizing as a part of the regulatory architecture in SEBI. We found it extremely effective. And I can assure you that, many, many new steps will be taken. Single filing with the exchanges is going to become a reality very soon, if Ashish is here, but it's happening. It's work in progress. If you file your filings, your disclosures with one exchange, it will automatically go and populate on the websites of the other exchanges. So this is all simple stuff that technology will enable. Of course, there was a mention of REITs, but Ajkal, if I utter the word REITs, I am accused of conflict of interest. So perhaps it would be better for me to abstain. But indeed, these are the emerging asset classes in our country. Globally, they are large, strong. They monetize a lot of the build out of the infrastructure of the country. They have a huge multiplier effect in terms of the growth of the country. So all of this is very much on our agenda, and it will be done in a manner of co-creation, because that's the only sensible way to do it. The third thing that we believe is going to characterize our markets is speed. And the reason is not that it will characterize only our markets, it's because that's how the world is moving today. Today, even an overnight delivery of something you order online feels far too late, right? You want it in 15 minutes, right? And it happens. And then your expectation is now, why not 5 minutes? And now, why not 2 minutes? And that is with physical goods. So you can imagine in the digital world, where is the expectation of people in terms of with what speed things should happen? So there is a certain speed which is all prevailing in the entire, not just market ecosystem, but the overall, I would say, the planet. And therefore, we too need to be able to, as a regulator, respond to that. So we believe that the way in which to deal with that is really to have focus. And what do I mean by focus? In order to have speed, you need to have clarity of thinking, right? Decisions are made quickly if you are clear on your objective, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to protect the investor from. And that clarity comes from a very sharp focus on what is it that is the fundamental requirement of the regulator to do. So within SEBI, we have restructured ourselves. We undertook a reorganization where we restructured ourselves in order to bring focus to certain specific activities so that it is not a question of everybody trying to do everything and then it taking a long time, but a very focused and clear set of policies, processes, protocols, etc., in order to bring that focus, in order to bring that clarity, and therefore to facilitate speed. The next important thing is this whole question of inclusion, which I referred to earlier, that a Viksit Bharat with economic prosperity is still not a Viksit Bharat unless you have inclusion and participation. And this inclusion is not just about gender inclusion, not just about socio-economic inclusion, it is also about language inclusion and on so many other dimensions. We're very fortunate that we are on that cusp where, with the help of AI, language barriers should be a thing of the past. So as we think about how our regulations will evolve in the future, we will need to move well past saying simply, let's simplify the English in our regulation. We will need to move past that and say, why do we not have regulation? Why do we not have documents? Why do we not have IPO summaries in 15 languages or 27 languages? So a part of that inclusion agenda is to make sure that there is no barrier to people being informed investors and therefore being able to participate in the entire market ecosystem. Because without a sense of familiarity, the fear is far too much. The other day I met a person who runs an NGO in rural India, and it's a women's organization, and the only thing they do for women empowerment is to take a mock ATM, village to village to village to village, and teach the women how to operate the ATM so that they're not frightened of it, so that they take charge of their own Jan Dhan account and are not reliant on the men in the family, and they have control over their own resources. It's as simple as that. And you cannot imagine when she spoke the power of that, of just eliminating the fear that a woman has to go to an ATM and operate it, and how that fear stops her from participating and losing control over her own money. So to us, the inclusion agenda is very large, and it starts from saying that in what language, in what medium, through what channel are we being able to communicate everything that a person needs in order to be able to participate in the growth of the country. So this is going to be an important driver for us going forward. Of course, equally from an inclusion agenda point of view, unless the cost comes down, inclusion cannot be a reality, because we cannot force the market ecosystem to sell a product that is fundamentally unviable, which is why we have taken so much of time and trouble to actually make the 250 rupee SIP viable, because if it's not viable, it simply won't fly, and we need it to just fly off the shelves. So the focus on cost, the focus on ensuring that economies of scale are passed on to the investors is an essential part of driving the inclusion agenda. With all of this put together, the final goal that we have, all of us sitting in this room, is the same, which is that for that Viksit Bharat, what is it that we as a country bring together to the table in order to facilitate that capital formation and wealth creation happens in a seamless, efficient, low cost, and highly inclusive way. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhavi ji. As always, instead of talking at 30,000 feet, you are at the ground level telling us what's a particular roadmap. Starting with, if we have to move towards Viksit Bharat, it's a question of not only how do we get more prosperous, but how do we spread that prosperity through participation, through inclusion. You've talked about ensuring the right social infrastructure, focusing on sustainability, and very interestingly, the sachetization on products, talking about the 250 rupee SIP as well. Also, the importance of capital formation, which is both about, as a SEBI, making sure that there is access to capital, but it also results in wealth creation, and wealth creation for all, so that we can involve everybody in our growth in the coming decades. You also very clearly put a responsibility and an opportunity for growth, talking about right product for the right customer and the importance of that, as also the importance of speed, which has become a bit of a drug really for all of us from the Amazons and Flipkarts of the world. But yes, speed creates efficiency, it creates availability, it has its own benefit as long as it's not done in a rash manner. And finally, the importance of inclusion. And very interestingly, you touched upon the fact that today one language can create multiple languages, and we are already seeing examples of Gen AI that many of us are using that's enabling us to do that, which means that if we have to create wealth, we have to ensure that the greater financial literacy awareness that exists for the common man, each of whom, man and woman, are investors. How do they become informed investors? And interestingly, access to them through multiple mediums, multiple channels, multiple languages, really with technology becomes really using one language, one medium, one channel. So one is becoming many and many is becoming one, because that's what technology is enabling us to do. And I thought that was a very interesting and powerful thought. All in all, very clear pathways on, at least from your point of view, how you think the opportunity needs to be harnessed, the opportunity for India as we move towards Viksit Bharat by 2047, if not earlier. So let me just take the opportunity to thank you once again for taking us through your thoughts on this.
Thank you all for the enriching experience, inspiring us to surge ahead. Request you to please come together for a group picture that will stay with us for times to come. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we break for lunch that has been arranged in the adjoining foyer. I have a few announcements to make before you part. So we will reassemble at 2 o'clock for the next session. I want to apprise you that there will be a changeover in the room. I repeat, there will be a changeover in the room. So you are requested to please carry your belongings along with you when you move out of this room for lunch. Please carry your belongings along with you when you move out for lunch. Also note that the day will end with high tea, wherein you can network with your peers from the sector and counterparts from other organizations. We begin tomorrow with a networking breakfast in the morning from 8:30 to 9:15. The first session tomorrow begins at 9:30 sharp. Please be in your seats a little before that. Tomorrow we have the chairperson of IFSCA, Deputy Governor of RBI, Member IRDAI, Chairman PFRDA, whole-time member SEBI, and finally Secretary DEA will be joining for the valedictory. So we promise you a full day of new and significant learnings as we will get to hear directly from senior government officials and regulators themselves. We have a lot of ground to cover today and tomorrow. So tomorrow will be an early start and today we begin the post-lunch session exactly as per schedule. So please be in your seats by 2 o'clock, which will enable us to have sufficient time for all the sessions. I remind you again, as you move out for lunch, please carry your belongings along with you as we will be having a changeover of the seating arrangement in this ballroom. Thank you.
वाह, ओपनिंग अ बिजनेस करंट अकाउंट।
ये क्या वाह, पहले अकाउंट खोलो, फिर पीओएस के लिए अप्लाई करो और फिर क्यूआर। पता नहीं कब मिलेगा ये सब।
मुझे तो सब इंस्टेंटली मिल गया।
सीरियसली?
सीरियसली, तू जानता है इसका बैंक कौन है?
कौन है?
एसबीआई। एसबीआई देता है बिजनेस करंट अकाउंट के साथ पीओएस और क्यूआर कोड। इसे कहते हैं सॉलिड बैंक या सॉलिड बैंकिंग।
We've come a long way to get to where we are today. From what started as a single dream to enabling millions of dreams. From a handful of experts to thousands in our team. From two-wheeler to becoming a financing leader. We cover the length and breadth of our nation. As India moves forward, we move forward. With resilience, resolve and determination. With a focus on digital and innovation. We are relentless in our drive as we strive to meet and exceed the evolving needs of being Bharat ka digital lender. In a market filled with increasing choice, we needed to find our unique brand voice. As part of our journey to tell our growth story, we spoke to people across the country, covering all our stakeholders from customers, channel partners and employees. We sought inspiration in their values and aspirations. We breathe new life in our brand identity, framing human stories through windows of opportunity, reflecting our vision to empower upward mobility, broadening horizons through financial accessibility. Our loans symbolize a dose of confidence, the confidence to make it happen, the confidence to take action, to form collaborations, to go further than we have ever before, to become an inspiration and hero to all. Hero FinCorp, the confidence to make it happen.
Come on.
Yes, Papa.
Life doesn't stop for anyone. Even we won't let you stop. At every stage of your life, with LIC, you are always insured. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
आज लिखेंगे हम अपना कल, जब अपनी सोच को राह मिले, सच तक ले जाएंगे अरमानों को, जब आशाओं को राह मिले, सोच से सच तक चले हम, सोच से सच तक, सोच से सच तक बढ़े हम, सोच से सच तक. हर नारी का सपना, हर नारी की शक्ति, ऊर्जा से उन्नति का सफर, हौसला हो अपने दम पर, सोच से सच तक चले हम, सोच से सच तक, सोच से सच तक बढ़े हम, सोच से सच तक. देश विदेश से जुड़ते रहे, हर मंजिल पाते रहे, मान सम्मान और आयुष्मान, आगे बढ़े बढ़ते रहे, रोशन होंगे उम्मीदों के दीपक.
यूनियन बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, सोच से सच तक. यूनियन बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के आसान MSME लोन्स के साथ हर ख्वाहिश सोच से सच तक.
Knowledge,
upskill, opportunity,
experience, empathy,
change,
exciting future.
India, young, vibrant, aspiring, a country of 1 billion dreams. Realizing these dreams is possible and is already underway. At Bajaj Finserv, we are part of India's journey to making the dreams of Rohit, Diksha, Sejal and many more come true. The reins of our future are in the hands of our youth. Skilling our youth can catapult India into a global economic powerhouse. Knowing this, we launched our CPBFI program in 2016 to upskill young students and prepare them for employment in the banking and finance industry. Today, our CPBFI program has given wings to the dreams of 53,000 young people, enabling them to evolve as banking or finance professionals.
Through our CPBFI program, we have seen family incomes doubling and tripling when a student gets a job after graduation. And we are excited to be a part of India's journey to becoming a global knowledge superpower.
In this course, I came to know in depth what is actually banking. I didn't had any idea about insurance. I am ready to switch from teaching sector to banking sector.
Nobody from my family is in this sector. Everybody is engaged with agriculture. I am the only person who came out of that sector. Finance can help me to do my agriculture better.
The intensive 100-hour CPBFI program has been created by top industry experts.
It's an employability skills program which helps students to get entry in banking, insurance and finance industry. I really feel that students are really making most out of this program because the technical knowledge that they get here is not available anywhere.
Along with banking and insurance classes, we also have communication classes in which we have improved both our written and speaking abilities. It helped us boost confidence. At the same time, the classes were so engaging.
The deep reach of CPBFI across states in India ensures that students from smaller towns and cities are ready to meet the specific local needs of financial services businesses in their own regions.
Really able to understand the banking, like their transactions, their loans, and the most important thing, the honesty of a manager.
The program is aimed at aspirants in Tier 2 and 3 cities. On completion of the CPBFI program, students undergo an assessment process followed by workshops by human resource professionals. This is extremely important as these mock interviews are simulated by Bajaj Finserv recruiters, providing students insights into industry expectations from them.
Before the course began, our students were in dilemma whether we should take up this course or not. But once they started the course, they developed the confidence. This confidence, which is the need of the hour.
One finance professional at a time, the CPBFI program is making a telling impact on society and the financial services industry. 70% of students are young women, while a sizable 66% of students have parents who are not graduates. The CPBFI program is enabling these families to grow their income multiple times, leading to their financial well-being.
I'm on first postgraduate in my family. I'm currently doing MBA in marketing. This program inspires me to enter this sector. So the whole trainers are so inspirational.
What started out as a training program to meet the talent gap is now providing youth with opportunities, catalyzing social change and enabling a young India to take wings into a limitless sky. And we hope to go a long way. Scale up to skill up.
Exciting future!
Creating finance professionals for the future.
वाह, opening a business current account.
ये क्या वाह, पहले अकाउंट खोलो, फिर पीओएस के लिए अप्लाई करो और फिर क्यूआर. पता नहीं कब मिलेगा ये सब.
मुझे तो सब इंस्टेंटली मिल गया.
सीरियसली?
सीरियसली? तू जानता है इसका बैंक कौन है?
कौन है?
SBI. SBI देता है बिजनेस करंट अकाउंट के साथ POS और QR कोड. इसे कहते हैं सॉलिड बैंक की सॉलिड बैंकिंग.
We've come a long way to get to where we are today. From what started as a single dream to enabling millions of dreams. From a handful of experts to thousands in our team. From two-wheeler to becoming a financing leader, we cover the length and breadth of our nation. As India moves forward, we move forward. With resilience, resolve and determination. With a focus on digital and innovation. We are relentless in our drive as we strive to meet and exceed the evolving needs of being Bharat ka digital lender. In a market filled with increasing choice, We needed to find our unique brand voice. As part of our journey to tell our growth story, we spoke to people across the country, covering all our stakeholders from customers, channel partners, and employees. We sought inspiration in their values and aspirations. We breathed new life in our brand identity, framing human stories through windows of opportunity, reflecting our vision to empower upward mobility, broadening horizons through financial accessibility. Our loans symbolize a dose of confidence, the confidence to make it happen, the confidence to take action, to form collaborations, to go further than we have ever before, to become an inspiration and hero to all. Hero FinCorp, the confidence to make it happen.
Come on.
Yes, Papa.
Life doesn't stop for anyone. Even we won't let you stop. At every stage of your life, with LIC, you are always insured. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
आज लिखेंगे हम अपना कल, जब अपनी सोच को राह मिले, सच तक ले जाएंगे अरमानों को, जब आशाओं को राह मिले, सोच से सच तक चले हम, सोच से सच तक, सोच से सच तक बढ़े हम, सोच से सच तक. हर नारी का सपना, हर नारी की शक्ति, से उन्नति का सफर, हौसला हो अपने दम पर, सोच से सच तक चले हम, सोच से सच तक, सोच से सच तक बढ़े हम, सोच से सच तक. देश विदेश से जुड़े रहे, हर मंजिल पाते रहे, मान सम्मान और आयुष्मान, आगे बढ़े बढ़ते रहे, रोशन होंगे उम्मीदों के दीपक.
यूनियन बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, सोच से सच तक. यूनियन बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के आसान MSME लोन्स के साथ हर ख्वाहिश सोच से सच तक.
knowledge,
upskill, opportunity,
experience, empathy,
change,
exciting future,
India. Young, vibrant, aspiring. A country of 1 billion dreams. Realizing these dreams is possible and is already underway. At Bajaj Finserv, we are part of India's journey to making the dreams of Rohit, Diksha, Sejal and many more come true. The reins of our future are in the hands of our youth. Skilling our youth can catapult India into a global economic powerhouse. Knowing this, we launched our CPBFI program in 2016 to upskill young students and prepare them for employment in the banking and finance industry. Today, our CPBFI program has given wings to the dreams of 53,000 young people, enabling them to evolve as banking or finance professionals.
To our CPBFI program, we have seen family incomes doubling when a student gets a job after graduation. And we are excited to be a part of India's journey to becoming a global knowledge superpower.
In this course, I came to know in depth what is actually banking. I didn't had any idea about insurance. I am ready to switch from teaching sector to banking sector.
Nobody from my family is in this sector. Everybody is engaged with agriculture. I am the only person who came out of that sector. Finance can help me to do my agriculture better.
The intensive 100-hour CPBFI program has been created by top industry experts.
It's an employability skills program which helps students to get entry